whispering entertainment, 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 entertainment. Tonight we are going to be reviewing the Night of Champions pay-per-view that just took place this Saturday. Unfortunately, I was not able to watch it the day of, so this review is a little bit late. But so that being said, let's just get right into it. Let me know your favorite match, your favorite moment from the show. If you didn't see, I have posted a Night of Champions predictions video on Saturday, so 2 days ago. So we will also be going over those predictions to see how well I did. As always, I have my notes off to the side a little bit, so if I'm not looking at the camera, apologies. That is what I'm looking at. So for the first match, it started with the King of the Ring finals. I was a little bit, I guess I would say I wish that the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring was more of the focal point of the night. You know, back in the 90s, the King of the Ring was the King of the Ring pay-per-view. That was what it was called, and that was kind of the main draw of it. And I know you had a world title match, so like that makes sense to be the main event, especially given the result. I can see why they did it that way. Honestly, that probably should have tipped us off from the result, but I mean, considering they led SmackDown with a world title match, I don't see why they couldn't have led this PLE with a world title match, but obviously given the result, they wanted to save that for last. But anyway, so the King of the Ring is the first match. Of course, between Jay and Oba Femi. The crowd during Oba's entrance had these like little green lights. It looked like when the crowd flashes their like phone flashlights, but it wasn't phones. They were like green. They were like these little lights. I don't know if they passed them out beforehand or what. I mean, maybe it was phones, but to me it looked like special green lights. I don't know. And I don't know how they coordinated it. They kept flashing the lights every time. It would go, oh, but, and they'd go, ooh, and they'd flash the lights. I'm not sure who coordinated that or how that happened, but I guess that's another thing to add to his entrance. A couple of the spots that I noted, Oba kicked out at 1 from an Uso splash. I mean, it was early in the match, but still, that caught my attention, as they're still pushing him, or not pushing, well, I mean they are, but they're still booking him very strong, even within the match. If you saw my predictions video, you knew that the whole time I was expecting Oba to lose, because I was expecting the rubber match with Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, which we could talk about later, but I really wasn't expecting Jey Uso to go over, so. But then as I'm watching the match, they're still making Oba look very strong. So the finish of the match, Jey Uso kind of runs some offense. He has him in his sleeper, or he hits him with like another Uso splash. He kicks out at 2, he puts him in his sleeper. And then Oba just kind of wakes up. He just gets up out of the sleeper. He's already hooked him, so he picks him up, does his signature where he throws the guy from like really high up on his back, which is one of my like favorite moves that anybody does right now. I mean, it's very simple, but just, with how tall he is, I'm surprised how many people are down to just let him chuck him from like his shoulder height, like his head height, and just fall all the way to the ground flat on their back. Seems like not very fun to take, but it's a hell of a thing to watch. He does the toss and then kind of waits for him like he does. Fall from grace, 1, 2, 3. And he was the King of the Ring, and the match did seem kind of short to me. Brock and Oba had their matches and they were short, it's like, oh, okay, that's because of Brock. But now this is another match that felt kind of short. It was like, okay, Jay runs some offense, and then Oba's just gonna hit his finish, and wipe your hands clean, and that's it. Not a crazy match for me. But like I said, I did not see this coming. I don't know if Brock is still going to be a thing. I think I'm going to save that discussion for the main event because there's a lot of talk about the result of the main event and what that could mean for Brock Lesnar, so I'll save that for later. And then the other thing I just wanted to say was Oba. They had like the really large crown and he didn't put it on his head, and I don't even know if it would have fit on his head because it looked very wide. And I was thinking to myself, why did they make this crown? Why did they make this crown just for show? When Triple H won the King of the Ring, he had not just him, but I'm just picking him as an example. They had the cape, that's the staff, and the crown. And I don't know. I think it's fun. I think they should do it like that. But Oba never even put the crown on his head. Anyway, not that important. The next match, it actually starts with a Danhausen segment. They had a really big stage, which I know people were kind of requesting, so I think they did a good job on the stage. And Danhausen comes out, and he's not really there to even cut a promo, to be honest, because he's there for what happens next. He just kind of says hello to Riyadhausen and, all the fans and that. And then Liv interrupts him. And then Liv is just asking for the money that he apparently owes the Judgment Day because of when Dom wanted him to curse Oba in the semifinal. And he just says, what money? He doesn't owe her any money. And then the main point of the segment is that he ends up cursing Liv right before her entrance, not her intro. And I didn't really like this cursing, I guess you could say. In my opinion, it's like the curse is insanely over right now. They are going to protect the curse. A curse is as good as a loss right now, just as it's currently being presented. It's undefeated so far. So it just seemed like way too much was stacked against Liv to also curse her. So you have the curse, which they're like attributing to the Knicks finals win, so they're not going to bury the curse. And then obviously she is a champion, so the odds that she is going to become double champion are very low. So it was already going into the event unlikely that she was going to win this match, and then you curse her right before it. It's like, do we even need to have the match? And sure enough, Io does go over in this match. Some things that I wrote down, didn't mention. I'm not going to mention this in every video, but this is a new channel, so I'll say it again here. They did the moonsault spot outside, like to the outside from the ring where the person hits them on their, like they basically catch them on their shoulder and then fall down, and it just looks really bad. I feel like there's got to be a better way to do the moonsault, or you just don't go for it as your suicide dive spot. It just looks really bad to me. It barely hits him. It touches him in the shoulder. It doesn't look like it's devastating at all. Obviously we know that it's not real, but it just doesn't even look like an attempt. Like when you take a crossbody, you at least, get that impact onto you. There was some interesting moves that they brought out. Io hits this like double underhook, picks her up, and then does a backbreaker, which I have never seen her before. If you've seen my first video, I'm not super up to date on all of the history. I've been watching since like January, or back, I watched in the past, but back to watching since January, so I haven't seen all of these wrestlers' careers, but I haven't seen her hit that kind of backbreaker before. I thought that was interesting from Io. And then Liv does this, like, I wrote a revolution code breaker, because I'm not sure what else you could call it. It looks like an Oblivion spot, but instead she, like, jumps off the middle rope, like holds her head, and then lands in a code breaker. So that was pretty unique. I hadn't seen that before either. A Revolution code breaker from Liv. But so the main story of the match, I guess what you would say, is that Io gets pushed off the top turnbuckle and lands on the steel steps, and then she sells like a knee injury that she had a bad landing on top of the steps, which, fair enough. But it kind of didn't work. Okay, so she takes the injury and she's selling it, but then she keeps going for like high risk moves, like jumping moves, and then Liv dodges it, and then she lands on her feet, but then obviously her knee is injured, so it's just not a very smart move. I understand, like, oh, she's the genius of the sky, so even if her knees hurt, like, that's her best offense, and that's what she's gonna do, so I'm okay with that part of it. I'm not super upset about, like, it maybe not being the smartest choice. But then, when it came to the finish, she just kind of stopped selling the knee injury, like she was hurt, and then the finish came, so she had to do the moves. And then after she got the pin, she like held her leg again to like try and resell it, but her knee's supposed to hurt. But she goes up to the top rope very quickly. Like Liv's on the top rope, she jumps up very quickly to hit the Super Spanish Fly. And then she hits the Super Spanish Fly, gets up, walks back to the turnbuckle. I'm sorry, I just hit the mic arm. I hope that wasn't terrible. Walks over back to the turnbuckle, jumps up, how she does, where she puts her leg up, jumps up to the top turnbuckle and does the over the moonsault for the pin. So 2 back-to-back in quick succession, going to the top rope, jumping off, going to the top rope and jumping off again. And then it's like, she was really selling the knee before that, so I don't know how she was able to pull that out, but okay. So maybe not the smartest book to finish for the injury that they gave her. But yeah, so Io goes over, and then she actually does wear the crown, funnily enough, but she immediately calls out Liv and says, I'll see you again at SummerSlam, which I thought was noteworthy because the fact that they're not even teasing the Rio, like, not beef, but just storyline and, like, fun match, I think is notable because, A, that just could have been something that they dragged out for a little bit and had Io and Rhea have some interaction. But then, does that mean that Rhea's knee injury might be worse than I would say people think? I'm not sure. I'm not super plugged into what information the internet has on this injury, but at least than I think, because they're not even getting Rhea involved in this story at all. They're just like, had the match, we're gonna run it back, and again, in kayfabe, makes sense, you just beat her, let's run it back, like, I'll beat you again, like, I'm better than you, right? But I just clocked that as maybe Rhea won't be ready for SummerSlam, or maybe not ready in time to do a full build from Night of Champions all the way to SummerSlam. So, the next match was the Steel Cage match, the feud ender between Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. Seth's entrance worked really well on the big stage with a bunch of monitors. I feel like not a lot of superstars could use that space well, but with Seth's like flames and stuff, I think it worked really well, and there was a lot of pyro going off, and it just looked really good. One thing I didn't note is that the RAM sound meter when people make entrances it's just trash. There's no point for it. Like, you can hear the pop, so I don't understand why they need a meter for something that's very obvious. And then also, the meter doesn't even track it accurately. Like, the crowd pops and it's like in the green, and then a couple seconds after the pop, it spikes up to the red, seemingly at random, when it's not even as loud as it was because it's delayed. And then also, it's like they could obviously just fake that. I wouldn't even be surprised if they just play if you looked over every single time they've played that, if it hasn't had the exact same animation at least once, I wouldn't be surprised because they could just fake it. And obviously, it's going to spike to red. They're not going to put the RAM thing out there and let it set at green if that's what's happening. So it's just bad. You have RAM on the turnbuckles, and in the ring, you don't need the RAM sound meter. It adds nothing. So Seth, before he even gets into the ring, he tosses kendo sticks, chairs, and tables into the steel cage. And then he unfolds a chair and he sits down and he waits for Braun, which was pretty cool. I was like, okay, like he's ready. And then for Braun's entrance, I noted no other Vision members came out with Braun. Obviously it's a steel cage match, so you could say, oh, that makes sense, but there's been plenty of steel cage matches with interference before. So I don't know if they just didn't travel to Saudi Arabia or what. And I also get like, okay, this is like the final match between Rollins and Breakker, so like one-on-one is the most satisfying way to do it, but it just not rubbed me the wrong way because I'm perfectly fine with the match that we got. I didn't need the Vision to interrupt again, but I just feel like it would have made more sense in character for the Vision to be there with him, even if they didn't get involved, like just be out there. I don't know. You're in a faction, the leader of the faction has the biggest match of his career, and nobody shows up, which is weird. Paul has the kayfabe excuse, but nobody else really has an excuse. Like Theory and Logan could have definitely been there. Oh yeah, I also think Braun needs some pyro. I think it's about time Braun can get some pyro. I understand he's young. I don't actually know how old he is. He's probably in his 20s. I would be shocked if he was 30. So I get it. Like, he's not established, never won a world title, so he doesn't get pyro. But I feel like they want him to become a thing. And I think he really needs it because he does that, the break gesture in his entrance. And it doesn't even need to be like a crazy pyro. You could just do like the Rhea Ripley, where like when he does it, just goes like boom, like it makes the boom sound when she like slams her foot on the ground. Like, so no fireworks, no visual, nothing, but just play a sound. He just needs something. Because I think it has potential, but it just doesn't super hit right now. It just feels empty. So the actual match now. Oh, sorry. One more thing before the match. Technically, I think the bell rang at this point, but Seth basically tells him right away in their in-ring banter that nobody's going to escape this cage and he's going to pin him in the middle of the ring. So they kind of set the tone right away that this is man versus man, mano a mano. And it's going to end in the center of the ring and no one's going to escape to win. That's kind of what the story that they're telling in this match. They do a fun spot. Braun obviously has his move that he does where he jumps from the ring apron and clotheslines them over the announce table. And they can't do that in a steel cage, obviously, but they found a fun way to do it where Braun is standing on the top rope like Undertaker Last Ride style, like holding onto the cage. And Seth is like stirring, and then he like sits up on a chair, and then Braun jumps from the top rope and does the clothesline that way. And I just thought that was a fun way to kind of fit his moveset into a steel cage. I thought that was creative. He hits, I believe they call it the Breakensteiner now. The Breakensteiner, he hits his Breakensteiner, and he doesn't botch it, which I note because I just feel like every time he does it and he doesn't botch it, it's a big W for him. Because, obviously, I feel like I don't want to say he struggles with it, I'm sure he's done it 100 times, but I was there at Barclays Center when he botched it on CM Punk, so now it's just in my head that, this is something, you may not always get it, but Seth made it look really good as well. They were talking to each other a lot in the match, and Breakker good job, he was doing his thing when he was on offense, but then he told Seth, "You are gonna die." Like, that's the quote, the exact quote. He says, "You are gonna die," and he repeated it. He said it twice, and it's right before he has his head in between the chair, and he's about to, like, basically hit his neck with the other chair, and he tells him, like, "You are gonna die," and I'm just thinking to myself, like, is that allowed? Like, did he just get caught up in the heat of the moment? I would imagine that that's not ideal, like, not really what they're going for. Maybe he got a little carried away. I wonder if Honor said anything to him backstage about that, but I clocked that. I was like, is he allowed to say that? So we're getting closer to the finish now. They do a superplex where Braun is at the top of the cage. He's not trying to escape at this point. At this point in the match, he actually wasn't trying to escape. He was setting up an offense. And then Seth meets him up there and superplex him from, he's on the top of the cage. And Seth is like on the turnbuckle, like reaching up, and then they just kind of do the superplex like that. And something happened on their exchange of punches or something. Maybe it was during the suplex, I don't see how. But basically after this spot, Braun is like bleeding over his eye, and then it kind of like it's all over the right side of his face, and it looks pretty badass, I can't lie. Braun is already, a badass. He's billed as that, and it just fit his character. I don't think it was on purpose. The reason why I don't think it's on purpose, a lot of the times I don't think that I think that the blood is real, and it turns out that it is not real, so I am usually a mark for that. I do fall for that, but in this instance, there was no move that they were trying to even give to credit it to. They're literally just on the top of the cage punching each other, and then he's not bleeding, or at least you don't know, you can't tell, and then the superplex, and now all of a sudden he's bleeding, so I don't think it was intentional. But either way. So Braun ends up hitting Seth with his torpedo spear. His torpedo spear. Michael Cole calls every time Braun Breaker does a spear, torpedo spear. But in my opinion, that's not true. It is this specific spear where he goes back and forth at least a couple times, and then he hit the full speed, full power spear, and Seth kicked out. He kicked out of the spear, and I was upset by this. I was like, you didn't protect his strongest move. Like, this is his best move. It looks so good when he does it, and you didn't protect it, and I was a little upset about that. But then immediately, or not immediately, but almost immediately, I was like, okay, fair enough, because they have Seth. So Braun goes to spear Seth through a table that's set up, in the corner. And Seth gets out of the way. Braun, dives head, shoulder first into the table. Then he, stumbles out. He gets hit by a pedigree. And then immediately gets stomped. And then he kicked out. He kicked out at 2. So at that point, I was like, okay, that's fair enough. Seth gets the kick out of Braun's best move. Then Braun literally goes through a table into the pedigree, into the stomp, no time in between. There wasn't any, doubt. It was boom, 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 and I thought it was over, and they let him kick out of that. So I was like, okay, fair enough, you can kick out of the spear. I guess I'm alright with that now. But it wasn't, nothing much really came of it, because almost immediately after he kicked out, he was still, stunned, I guess. And then Rollins hit him with a second rope stomp. And then that was it, which, of course. And yeah, I thought it was a good match. So it ends. It should. They said it, so me saying it is not even a prediction. Seth literally said it. Should end maybe not end the Vision, but end Seth's involvement with the Vision Not sure where the vision goes from here. They might just break up considering they're all injured, except Theory, and well now Braun, but they've all been injured, and now two of them, Bronson and Paul, are going to be out for a while, seemingly. So maybe they just break up the division. I don't know. I guess Paul Heyman would end up with Braun, probably. Who knows? But obviously everyone is thinking Seth is going to go after Roman. You know, he wants his world title back that he never lost because he vacated it due to injury. So that's obviously his next goal. We'll see what happens there. I just realized I haven't been keeping track of this, right? Or I haven't been saying this, but the Jay match, I got wrong. I picked Jay. I thought that Oba was not going over. The EO one, obviously, I picked EO. And then the Seth one, I picked Seth. So far, we have 1 incorrect and 2 correct for the predictions. The next match, we're pretty deep into this video, but I would say it's almost done. But there's kind of a lot to talk about in the main event. But these next 2 matches are going to be quick. Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints for the men's United States title. There was a funny, heel spot for Ricky where he takes the kendo stick from Yachty, and because he was close to Yachty, Trick gets kind of mad, so then he's going out, and the ref is talking to Trick, and then Ricky hits the step, I think, with the kendo stick, and then gives it back to Yachty and falls on the ground. So then the ref sees that and sends Yachty backstage, which was just kind of funny. I like Ricky Saints. He's got some funny stuff. I have more to say about finishes. They turned Ricky Saints' Revolution DDT into a signature move, and they're trying to push his the Rochambeau, which I still don't even know. He's only hit it twice on Raw. I don't even fully know what it is, besides the fact that it kind of looks like a Farouk Dominator where they get slammed down on the front, which doesn't always look the best. But in NXT, his finish was that, I think it's called the Tornado DDT is the generic name, but the Revolution DDT, which I think is a better finisher for him. One, because he does it good and it looks good. 90% of the time that he does it, it looks good. And then his whole thing is the Revolution, he's absolute. And then his intro is, this is the Revolution. So I just feel like Revolution DDT, and he's spinning around. It just makes a lot of sense. I just don't understand why they would change that from his finish. But he is, every single person he said that with is kicked out on the main roster, so I don't know why. It's kind of like my gripe with Ethan Page and him not doing the twisted grin anymore. I don't know why they're bringing up these people from NXT and then changing their finish. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, so he hits the Revolution DDT. Williams kicks out, and then shortly after, he ducks something, bounces off the rope, hits the trick shot, and it's over. And I feel like Trick in general, in a lot of his matches, just has to do less than his opponent. But it's not in a good way. Obviously, Lesnar hits 7 F5s to pin Oba, and then Oba hits 1 fall from grace, and then it's over. That's protecting the finish, right? But for Trick, maybe it's just because he's not booked as strong as Oba or what, but it just feels like he takes the other guy's finisher and he kicks out, and then he just jumps up and hits him in the face with a knee, and then it's over. It just doesn't feel very good. It doesn't feel like he had a lot of offense in this match, and then he hits the trick shot and it's over. And I like protecting finishers. I think everyone likes protecting finishers to a point, but maybe I just have a problem with the trick shot then. I don't know. But yeah, so I predicted Trick as well. So we're 3-1 so far. And then after the match, Yachty comes back, and then he hits a people's elbow on Ricky, which is kind of funny, but I don't know. Sure, it was fun. So in the Women's United States title match, Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill. So as for the match itself, Jade has this, I don't remember the exact setup, but basically, like, Tiffany's stunned, and Jade's behind her, and then she does, I think they called it the sandstorm, I don't really know, but she, like, goes up behind her, and she picks her up in, like, the AA, but, like, backwards. And then, in my head, I'm like, why didn't she just go for Jaded? Like, her signature should not be a move that also requires her to be behind the opponent. I guess her signature is the pump kick, or I think the pump kick is what it's called, because the punt kick would obviously be something different. I think her signature is like the pump kick technically, but they had a name for it, like Michael Cole called it the sandstorm, so it's like if this is an actual signature move, it doesn't make sense for it to be one where she has to get behind the opponent, because that's what her finisher is. So I can't see a time where she would go for this move, or up on the shoulders, backwards, instead of just grabbing both the arms and doing the Jaded. So I don't know. I feel like that move might need to go up on the shelf for a little bit. Maybe she should hit another one-winged angel. That was cool. Everyone liked that. There was a lot of botches in this match. Or not in this match as a whole, but in very quick succession, which was tough. It seems like somebody forgot how the finish was supposed to go, or how they get to the finish, because there was like a whole sequence where there was like 3 botches in a row. So Jade had her and Jaded, but then it gets countered into the stunner, because Tiffany does like the rope stunner, but this was just a regular stunner off of the counter of Jaded. But it didn't, like, Jade didn't really sell it well. Like, her head didn't go all the way down. It seemed like she forgot that she was getting stunned. But then she gets stunned, she goes back and is leaning on the rope. And then they're just both waiting. Like, Tiffany hits the stunner, she's like, she gets up. She's standing there, and Jade is like leaning on the ropes, I guess expecting Tiffany to come to her. And they both stand there for long enough for me to, like, notice it. And I'm sure people have noticed it. And then I guess Tiffany just doesn't know what to do next, or she's waiting for Jade. One of them doesn't know, but then Tiffany takes the initiative. She just runs over to Jade on the ropes and just hits her with a forearm, and then hits her with the forearm, and then is calling the match. Very clearly calling the match. And then shortly after that, I forget what Jade was going for, but Tiffany counters it into like the crucifix. But then Jade just didn't think, it seemed like she didn't know that she was supposed to get pinned, because she kind of like hits the ground and kind of like, I don't know, like kind of like rolls. So her shoulders aren't on the ground, and Tiffany doesn't have a hold of her because she hits the crucifix and isn't expecting to have to get held there for the pin. So there's just 3 botches right in a row, and the crowd kind of like died in the middle of that sequence. But the actual finish is that BFAB, and Michin come out, and they're distracting Tiffany. But then Chelsea Green comes out from under the ring, which I thought that was funny when I saw that. I was like, was she there the whole time? How long was she laying under there? But she comes out to take care of BFAB, and Michin makes quick work of them. But in the chaos, the US title belt ends up in the ring. And then the ref is checking up on Tiffany, and Jade is crawling over to the title. But then Charlotte, who Jade jumped on SmackDown, causing her to potentially not be in the Queen of the Ring finals, grabs the title from Jade and hits her with it. And then Tiffany's gets set up for the prettiest moonsault ever. The prettiest moonsault ever. Against the 1, 2, 3. So this one was another one that I picked Tiffany for. I was not that confident in this one. Because I picked all faces. And I was like, a heel has to win one of these matches, surely. And I thought the most likely heel to win was Jade, but we will get to where they decided to go. And then the only thing for this match, the aftermath, is like, what's going to be next for Jade? She lost twice for the main title, and then she lost again in a row for the mid-card title. So what are they going to do with her? They were booking her strong, or maybe not booking her strong considering she's on a losing streak, but the commentators were talking about her strong. And now she's lost 3 big matches in a row, so I wonder what they're going to do with her, if they're going to change her at all, or what the plan is with that. Okay, so now we're here to the main event match. Triple threat, 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 triple threat match for the undisputed WWE Championship. There's a lot of B's and crisp sounds in those words. Triple threat for the undisputed WWE Championship. Nothing to say for the entrances. Everyone had the regular entrance, you know. The crowd went crazy for Sammy. I guess it could be some noteworthy considering he's heel, but not in Saudi. He's not heel. Cody had some interesting moves. He hit, I think, and this is just my memory off of old SmackDown vs. Raw games, I think Cody hit Matt Hardy's old finisher. What did Corey Graves call it? He called it, like, the side effect. Was it the side effect? But he, like, goes up behind him, or next to him, almost like a rock bottom type setup, and then he jumps with him, and they kind of, like, he goes on his back, and he goes also on his back, but, you know, the other way. And I saw that, and I was like, wait, you know, like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, I was like, was that Matt Hardy's finisher? I recognized that move from somewhere, and I think it was from that. He also hit a double Cody cutter on both Sammy and Gunther, which, I mean, it's like cool, but I feel like it didn't actually hit, but the cameras kind of like cut away, so you couldn't tell. They didn't really grab both of them, but it was a cool idea, I guess. My next note that I just wrote, I love the Blue Thunder Bomb. The Blue Thunder Bomb. I love the Blue Thunder Bomb. I wish that he would ever get a pin, or like a pinfall victory from the Blue Thunder Bomb every now and again. It just looks so good. Like, he picks him up, spins him, and then the sit out. It's my favorite move that Sammy does. I don't want to say I don't really like Sammy because I haven't seen him for very long, but I didn't really like Sammy. But I loved the Blue Thunder Bomb. That was like my favorite thing that he would do. And it's kind of sad because I feel like that could be a good finishing move, but now nobody can use it because it's Sammy's finisher and everyone kicks out of it, so you can't just come in and make it your finish. Another thing that I've seen people talking about online was the Gunther splash and how, like, bad it was and unathletic it was. And I think it's fine, like, that he has a bad splash, like, that kind of fits his character. Just the fact that he's going for it, I do think is fun and, like, interesting, considering Gunther's moveset is not very interesting in general, so, like, let him have a top rope move. But my problem with this specific splash was he literally, like, put his hands down before he even, again, sorry, I think I just hit the mic, before he even landed on the splash, he hit Sammy with his hands first. He, like, braced his fall, like, very obviously. So that, I had a bigger problem with that than just the fact he looked kind of goofy in the air. Like, you gotta at least hit the splash. Then, after that splash, he goes to powerbomb. Or I think he does powerbomb Cody. He goes to powerbomb Sammy. And then Sammy does like the cleanest powerbomb counter I have ever seen. Like, I don't think I've ever seen this kind of move look as good as it did. It's like they did, you know, the powerbomb into like the sunset flip kind of thing. Like he goes over him and then flips him, but it wasn't like the sunset flip where they roll up. He literally like took this power bomb and turned it into his own like Mexican destroyer almost type move. Like it looked really good. It was really fast. And it was super clean. And yeah, like I said, I've never seen a power bomb counter that done that well. So I don't know if that's mostly Sammy or mostly Gunther, but that was a good job by them for sure. They make it to the outside in the middle of this match. It's a triple threat, no disqualification, so you might as well. And they're clearing off the announce table, and as Sammy does it, he takes a water bottle, he puts it back up on the table, and then just smacks it away again, which is just kind of comedy. Like, it's just a reference to how his character's been, but I thought it was funny. But while they're on the tables, so both announce desks are cleared off at this point, because they have the Arabic speaking announcers, and then obviously Corey Graves and Michael Cole. And Sammy like rushes Cody on this table, and he gets back body dropped through the English announce table. And there's just something about people going through tables. I know it's like memed, and I know the "we want tables" chant is a bad chant, and you gotta just let them do what they want, what they're already gonna do. Like, if they're hinting at a table, you're probably gonna get a table. Like, if someone clears off the announce desk, you don't have to say that you want tables. Like that's where they're going. But it's just so fun. Like, even just a simple move like the back body drop, I was like, it just looked so good. Like, the whole table just gets destroyed. It's just great. Oh yeah, and then when he gets back body dropped, they hit something. They hit something in the audio that made Michael Cole's like microphone to stop working. So in this like triple threat main event for the title at a PLE, Michael Cole has no mic and it's just Corey Graves, and it's just chaos. And then what added to the chaos is, so Sammy goes through that table, and then Gunther power bombs Cody through the second table, but it doesn't break. And so Cody just gets slammed onto the table, which I'm sure hurt. And then, but you gotta get to your spot, and it didn't break. So then he just immediately pulls him off the table and does a second power bomb, and this one shatters the table. But just to add even another layer of chaos to this whole thing, it made it such a like awesome sequence. There was a poor audio guy trying to get Michael Cole's microphone working, and you see him like under, not like all the way under the table, but like right behind the table, and like part of it like lands on him, and Cody kind of lands on his legs. So like, obviously I hope that he was okay, but and I do think he was okay. I wouldn't like be smiling this hard if it looked like he actually got hurt, but I think he definitely got clipped, and it with only Corey Graves on the audio, the power bomb doesn't work. He does the second one, and then the audio guy gets like clipped. It was just such a crazy sequence. It was so fun. Like, just thinking about it now, it was really funny. Okay, so after that, so then halfway through, or not halfway through, but like a little bit after Michael Cole's mic goes out, Corey Graves actually just gives Michael Cole his headset, because I guess he's the main guy, and they're kind of getting to the finish, so they want Michael Cole to be on the call, I guess, for the video packages and stuff. So Corey Graves just gives Michael Cole his headset, which is kind of aura for Michael Cole, if you think about it. But anyway, we're getting towards the end. Gunther has a sleeper on Cody. Sammy still hasn't gotten up from the back body drop through the table. Cody's been powerbombed twice on a table and then through a table, and now he's in a sleeper hold, so he's like pretty cooked. And then the ref lifts his arm and he lets it drop for like, that he's out and he's gonna ring the bell. But then Sammy like sticks in and grabs his arm before it can hit the mat to like save the match, which was fun. I'm not sure. I haven't seen that, at least recently. I'm sure obviously it's been done. Everything's been done before, but I haven't seen that recently, so I thought that was fun. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, and then so shortly after that, Sammy hits a haluva kick, and the crowd is going absolutely insane off the haluva kick. But Gunther kicks out at 2, and at this point, I do have to regrettably say that I had the match results spoiled to me before I watched it. Like I said, I didn't get to watch this on Saturday, and that was like one of the first things I saw. I opened up YouTube, which I should not have, and I forgot that there was an event at 1 p.m. And I saw, I saw obviously that, spoiler alert, Sammy wins the title. And as I'm watching this and he hits the haluva kick and Gunther kicks out at 2, I was thinking to myself, if I was watching this fresh, with no idea who wins, I would have said that after that, there's no way Sammy wins. Like, that seemed like, it's like one of those things where, like, you think someone can win, they pull off some sort of sequence, but then if that one doesn't work, you're like, okay, that was like their chance to like show something, like show that they could have maybe won, and now like they're just done for the rest of the night. Like, that's usually how it goes. So I was surprised when Gunther kicked out at 2. Like, the crowd was so into it when he hit the haluva kick. It was like a huge pop, and then he kicks out at 2, and I'm like, wow, I know he wins, and I'm shocked that Sammy's gonna end up winning this match. So Gunther had his chance when he had Cody in the sleeper, and Sammy interrupted. Sammy hits the haluva kick, and Gunther kicks out, so now it's Cody's turn to almost win this match. So he comes back from his sleeper. And then I'm not sure the exact order of this, but he goes for a crossroads on Sammy, and then Sammy like counters and then hits Cody with his own crossroads, which was not, I was not expecting that. I didn't know Sammy could do a crossroads. Well, not that he couldn't, but you know what I mean, or like would do a crossroads. And then Cody. Okay, so Sammy hits the crossroads on Cody. Then he gets put into a sleeper, but then he counters the sleeper and then puts Gunther in the sleeper. So he did that twice. He countered the finish and then did the own finisher back to them. But then Cody comes behind Gunther. Gunther comes behind Sammy, who's holding Gunther in the sleeper, and then does like a double crossroads. Like, he crossroads Sammy, but Sammy's holding on to Gunther, so they both get crossroaded. And then Gunther rolls out of the ring and he's done for the rest of the night. So he hits the double crossroads, and then is going for the other double crossroads, meaning he crossroads both of them, but then he never lets go of Sammy, and then picks up Sammy again for the second crossroads. And then Sammy just like kind of like drops down, picks up his legs, rolls up Cody, and gets like a quick pin, like just a roll up pin, and then that's it. New undisputed WWE champion. It's crazy, and everybody's going crazy. Like I said before, this event, I didn't even really like Sammy. You know, I'm sure he gets it all the time. He doesn't really have to look. And I don't know anything about his character because I have only been watching since January, so I don't know his history. But even going in, I didn't really like Sammy, but that moment was amazing when he's just in the crowd with the belt, and I didn't know how long he was in WWE before, but you could just tell that he, like, obviously they tell you he's in WWE for 10 years and wrestling for 20 years, but even if they didn't tell you that, you could just tell how much, like, emotion, like, it felt like the boyhood dream had come true, you know what I mean? Like the Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 12 boyhood dream, like that's kind of what it was like. And then he's just in the crowd, and it was a really great moment, and it was a really good match. Really, I have nothing bad to say about the match. I predicted Cody to retain because I felt like Cody was getting booked so strongly. So when I saw Sammy won, I was surprised, and then I was even more surprised when I saw that Cody got pinned. I was not expecting that. I just thought Cody was booked so strong, but so I was 4-2 with my predictions, with the 2 being the Oba Femi win, which I was happy about, and the Sammy win, which I didn't really have an opinion on, but seeing the aftermath, I was happy about it in the end because it was just so amazing. And then the one thing I do want to say is that it does feel like Cody will still walk into SummerSlam as the champion. I find it hard to believe that Sammy will hold it through SummerSlam. This feels very Drew McIntyre. I mean, Sammy had a way bigger stage than Drew McIntyre to win the title, but it seems like, right before Mania, Drew wins. It's like, oh, the Rumble winner or the Elimination Chamber winner is gonna fight Drew, and then it's like, no, that you just lied about that, and it feels like that's what's gonna happen here with Sammy and the King of the Ring. But yeah, so this is where we could go back into Brock Lesnar talk, because obviously Seth Rollins is supposed to be feuding with Roman Reigns after Division is done, so Oba has to go after the Undisputed title, but he doesn't have any history with anyone that's holding the Undisputed title. I mean, he's on Raw, so how are you supposed to do that? So what if Brock Lesnar takes the belt off of Sammy? I heard this. I heard someone say this, and I just didn't think it could be true. But now that Sammy has the title, or like before Night of Champions, I heard someone say that you could do Brock. You could have Oba win the King of the Ring, and then have Brock versus Oba still by having Brock be a champion. And I was like, how could you even possibly do that? But now that Cody's not the Golden Boy right now, I could see this maybe happening. It does seem like a lot has to happen. Like a Brock title reign in 2026 seems very far-fetched, even if it could make booking sense to get the best of both worlds with Oba winning the King of the Ring and getting Brock Lesnar a rubber match at SummerSlam in Minnesota. It makes perfect sense. And even though it makes perfect sense, it would just be so crazy to think about Brock Lesnar as the undisputed WWE champion in 2026. But yeah, because it feels like you could use the Brock and Oba feud. I know it's kind of running its course, so the title would definitely spice things up, but you could use that as like a match that people will still care about without needing the title, and then you could have another big match with the title, like they've been doing, but adding the title to it would make it different from the first two, and marketing it as a true retirement match would make it different, so I do think that would be a smart idea. I don't know how people would feel about Sammy losing it, though. It's weird. It's weird because I feel like people are gonna like Sammy now because of how relatable that was, that he worked so hard for that and he finally got it. So now it's like, or he's gonna get cheered. I feel like he turned heel so that he could win the title, and now I feel like he's gonna get cheered. Like, you don't think that on Friday, or maybe even today, on Monday when I'm recording this video on Raw, I haven't watched Raw yet, Sammy's not gonna come out and get the "you deserve it" chant. Like, he's totally gonna get the "you deserve it" chant. And then, like, kind of what do you do? I guess he wasn't, like, super heel. Like, he was just kind of like, he has anger issues, but he never did anything actually, like, evil. So you could just make him face if everyone wants him to be face. I mean, his entrance theme is just so face-coded, it's insane. But yeah, I mean, like, I would cheer Sammy. I mean, that arena was electric. I mean, maybe I'm just crazy, and maybe I'm just letting the Riyadh crowd get to me, and maybe he will get booed, but to me, it's like that was just awesome. But yeah, I do think it's going to be a short reign. I do think most people think that, and I understand why. But we'll see. I think I've been talking about this main event for like 20 minutes, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it's a very interesting time right now. You know, it's the road to SummerSlam, the second biggest show on the calendar. So yeah, definitely interesting stuff. So I guess let's just get to the ratings so we can get out of here so I can go to bed. It's very late. I need to get this up. So I've never rated a PLE before, so I'm not sure. I have no scale to go off of. I will say, I think that if looking back on it as a whole, it wasn't as good as it like made me feel at the end. I think the main event and I think the steel cage match were very good. I think the King of the Ring final was a little underwhelming. I think the EO match was okay, but it's like, you knew EO was gonna win, so that kinda hurts it. Seth and Braun was a good match. Trick and Ricky Saints, nothing really special happened there. And then Tiffany and Jade, it just didn't really hit. I'm sorry, like BFAB and Michin. I don't know. And there was a lot of botches. But it's tough, because, I mean, I feel like Jade has so much potential. But anyway. But obviously the main event was very good. I guess I'll go with, like, I'm in between 7 and 8, so I guess I'll call it a 7.5 out of 10. I'll say the main event was probably maybe the second best main roster match of the year. You have Punk Roman, WrestleMania, Night 2, and then this match, I would say, are the two best matches of the year by far on the main roster. Because Kendall Gray has had some bangers, and we will talk about that at another time. But yeah, so that was a great match. That carries it, and it is the main event. So you know what? I'll give it an 8. I'll say 8 out of 10 for this show. And we'll go from there. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for spending the time with me. I hope I'm not too late to get this out. It is Monday. The show was on Saturday. But I had a very busy weekend. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a good night. Let me know what you would rate this show. Do you think that this triple threat match is getting? Do you think I'm glazing? Do you think it was actually that good? I do think it was very good. I think I wasn't sure if I really thought it was very good, but after just reviewing it, I think that kind of solidified it in my mind. It's a very good match. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Raw review. Well, it's tough because I do want to review Great American Bash, and I do want to review obviously Raw. I want to be timely with the Raw stuff. So it's like, should I just catch up? Or should I just do Raw tomorrow and be on time? But I don't want to keep skipping the NXT stuff because I really like NXT. But I don't think I can record 2 videos in one night, especially when one of them is a PLE, even if it is an NXT PLE. So yeah, we'll see. But hopefully a video tomorrow. Yeah, have a great night, guys.